Hello, I bring you warm greetings from Reconciling Ministries Network. I am Izzy Alvaran. I'm an out gay clergy from the Philippines Conference and proudly serving as RMN's regional organizer for the Western jurisdiction and also organizer for the reconciling process. So let's talk about the basics of this process. Well, first thing you need to determine if you are organizing the whole church or you're organizing a reconciling community, which could be a small group within your church or a regional group. It could be a Sunday school class or a Bible study group or the youth group or even a choir, or it could be a regional group within your district, your annual conference, or even within your state. Or you could also be organizing a reconciling campus ministry. So this is something that you need to determine. Now, you need to have a team that is lay led. We can have the pastors invited to support this project, but most of the time they'll be providing you the support as teachers, also leading Bible studies or preaching a series of sermons around inclusion or the texts used against LGBTQ persons. But the process needs to be led by lay people because pastors in our context come and go. Make sure that your team, your reconciling team, is a diverse group of people. So you ask a question, who is not included in this group and they need to be included. Definitely inform and invite LGBTQ people in your congregation to participate. But all of the members of this team should be passionate about LGBTQ justice because they're going to have to see this process through. There is a toolkit that is available. You have to read it, use it. It is your friend. And the link to this toolkit, plus the links to all of the other stuff I'm going to talk about, will be in the description section of this YouTube video. Now, you need to make sure that this process is really grounded in relational organizing. It is about graceful engagement. You don't want that at the end of the process, somebody says, nobody talked with me, nobody had a conversation with me, nobody invited me. It's all about building relationships. That's the hard work of this process. And also, it needs to emphasize intersectionality. You're not just talking about LGBTQ justice here. This is a way for us to start using the lens, the optics of LGBTQ justice to look at issues of race, hunger, poverty, immigrant rights, and other social justice concerns because our work needs to be intersectional. Now, you need to plan one-on-one conversations. This is very, very important. Your team needs to start assessing the congregation's readiness for this. That's why the toolkit would have a congregational assessment sheet that you need to use. You need to start identifying who are the people who are probably going to oppose you. They're probably the first people you need to speak with. The conversations need to be meaningful and intentional. It doesn't happen one time. It will happen throughout the whole process. In some instances, the whole team has an assignment of people that they will talk with, build relationships with throughout the whole process. So resist the temptation to postpone these conversations because this needs to happen early on in your process. This can happen only if you have stories, and storytelling is important. We're not the ones changing people's hearts and minds. That's the work of the Holy Spirit. But our stories would be the sacrament through which God could speak through people. So make sure your team has a story to tell of why this work is important to them. And that should be the core of every conversation that you're having. Then you have a process that you design. You need to have educational events, storytelling events, Bible studies, maybe expert panel presentations. You definitely need to have a panel or an education event around the difference between sexual orientation and gender identities. What are these? Q&As, discussion groups, even book clubs. You need to have this throughout the whole process and factor them in. Now, towards the end of the process, you are drafting a reconciling statement. This is true of every reconciling community. They have a reconciling statement that represents your church's or community's value of equality and inclusion. Who are you, and who do you want your community, your neighbors to know? We need to go beyond saying just welcome. In fact, RMN's new standard says you need to say you welcome and say and affirm or celebrate And then it should be in the same sentence as the words sexual orientation, gender identity, and we even encourage saying gender expression, and all the categories of persons and communities that you want to welcome. Now make sure that your regional organizer or myself would see your statement before you conduct a straw poll or the vote. Now, do not skip the straw poll. You don't want to be surprised when you do actual vote. So do take a straw poll. This is a time for you to know when the congregation is ready to approve your statement or approve becoming part of the network, Reconciling Ministries Network. You need to aim for at least 75% of total votes cast for your straw poll. Then you need to start encouraging your individual members and your allies to sign up as Reconciling United Methodists. And you can do this on the RMN website, and the link is provided for in the description part of this posting. Now, when you hold the vote, schedule it ahead of time. You can do it on any Sunday, any day. You have to decide when that would be. It doesn't necessarily have to be a charge conference. In fact, in some places, we would not recommend it because maybe your district superintendent is not supportive. Remember that anybody can vote, and we encourage young people to vote. Even those that are not on your official church rolls should be encouraged to vote. You should schedule the vote so that everybody can participate. Schedule it on multiple Sundays. In some places, they would allow email ballots, and RMN has provided both the straw poll sample ballot and the actual voting ballot. We have samples of that, and the link is provided for. So you choose what works best in your context when you hold this vote. Again, you need to get at least 75% of total votes cast. So if you have 100 members, you need to have at least 75 people saying yes out of the 100 people that voted. It's not the number of people in your rolls, but the number of people that have voted. That would be the 75% out of that total votes cast. Then notify your regional organizer or notify RMN. In this case, you notify me as the regional, not just the regional organizer, but also the reconciling process organizer. This is what you would email us. Your statement, if you're a church, put it on official church letterhead, a high resolution photo of your congregation or your community, or the front or the facade of your church building. And you need to email us and fill up the new Reconciling Community form. Taking note that the 2 contact persons on the form need to be signed up as a Reconciling United Methodist. And then celebrate publicly. Notify your community, the press in your community, put up signs outside, and make sure that your reconciling statement is seen publicly. It's on your website. It's in some public space in your church or in your church bulletin. And we encourage you to celebrate your anniversaries as a reconciling church. We also encourage you to collect a donation, because RMN survives only through the individual donations of persons and churches. It's not a requirement for you to send in any amount for your application, but we do encourage your donations. So, if you have any questions, please contact me. The email is rcprocess@rmnetwork.org. Again, that's rcprocess@rmnetwork.org. Or you can call me or text me at 510-717-4894. Again, that's 510-717-4894. Now, that is the reconciling process in a nutshell.